Yeah.
Yeah, we have to move on because we run out of time. But tomorrow we have a lecture. We're going to talk more about microservices, and there will be more opportunities to have open session, questions, and interactions. But for the rest of today, I'd like to invite Greg from Optiva. They've been a sponsor of this course for a very long time. They invite graduates to come to present their work. They've supplied us with various types of information, project ideas over the years. They've also taken many students as interns. So I would like to give Greg the opportunity to talk a little bit about Advanced Software Engineering Workshop. Thank you. If you raise your hand.
Oh, okay. All right. Hi, thank you for having me. I'll just be speaking briefly this afternoon. If you could move on to the next slide. Why am I here today? And basically what it boils down to is that if you think about the learning outcomes that are defined for this course, all of them are highly relevant to software developers at Optiva. So you can see on the screen, we've got a world-class trading system that's built with microservices. We've used the modern DevOps tools like Atlassian, like Git, like AWS, exactly the same tools that you'll be using in this course. Our trading system consists of thousands of different microservices across, what have I got there? Hundreds of servers and then dozens of different locations. So if you just go to the next one quickly. So this map shows the different offices that we have. From our Sydney office, we trade in the Asian region. And so we have computers located, in all the major centers in Asia. From our Amsterdam office, we trade the European region, and so our computers are located across Europe. And from our Chicago and Austin offices, we trade in the US, surprise, surprise, with computers located in Chicago, New York, etc. If we could go back, please. We use microservices, we use DevOps, precisely the tools you'll be looking at in this course. We have a very large microservice-based trading system that has to deal with issues of scalability on an incredible scale. Each of our trading systems has to deal with literally millions of events per day, hundreds of millions on very busy days. We trust our developers to lead projects from the design stage all the way through implementation, testing, deployment, and beyond. So exactly what you'll be doing in this course, that's what you would be doing if you came to work at Optiva. So we sponsor this course, as Professor Ravi mentioned. We have $3,000, which we like to give away in prizes. So later in the term, the groups, the best groups, as selected, I believe, by Professor Ravi, will be invited to come to Optiva's office, and you'll present to us, and we'll make a determination as to which groups we think are best, and the best group gets $2,000 to share between them, and the second best gets $1,000 to share between them. So I thought I'd use a few minutes of my time to maybe try to share some advice with you from what we've learned at Optiva that might help you with your project. So if we could quickly move on to the next one. That's the one. So building microservices in teams. So what advice can I share with you on this topic? Firstly, work with great people. Have you heard of the Pareto principle? Anyone? Pareto principle? Yeah, the 80-20 rule. Anyone else? The basic idea is that 20% of the group produce the majority of the output. Okay. Another way this is sometimes put is that the square root of the size of the group produces half the output. So if you've got 100 people working on something, 10 of them are producing half the output. It's true in sports, it's true in software development, it's true elsewhere. So what that means is that you want to work with the best people you possibly can. And I got some great advice from my PhD supervisor years ago, which was don't fall into the trap of trying to work with people who you think maybe aren't better than you because you don't want to be humiliated or embarrassed. Try to work with people who are better than you because you can learn from them, right? So when you're choosing your teams, try to work with the best people you can possibly work with. You may have heard of the Mythical Man Month. It's a book that's been around since basically when I was born. Basically, the message of this book is that if you are reaching a deadline and you start throwing more developers at a problem, it's going to take longer, not shorter. Okay, so what you should do is you should allocate tasks appropriately from the beginning. What we like to do at Optiva is give each individual developer enough work for one developer. And often that is one microservice. So if we give them about the right amount of work for one developer, then we don't have to bring additional people on later on and endure the burden that adds. And then develop incrementally, not heroically. So don't try to create the microservice that does it all in one go. Create a microservice that does just one little thing and then build on it, okay? Okay, next slide. Take the time, good, I've still got 10 minutes. At Optiva, we're a fintech company. Our software has to be extremely performant. So how do you build performant architecture or performant microservices, sorry? And the answer is that if you just consider big O, which hopefully you all know about, then what you're really considering is how your software performs as the input size approaches infinity, which is a nice question to ask. But the real world is a little bit smaller than infinity. In fact, it's a lot smaller than infinity, right? So the thing to do is to make the average case fast. So think about what is your microservice? What does it actually have to do? What is the most common request it's going to get? And is that case fast, right? Or is only the case where it has to deal with some massive amount of data, is that fast? And the average case is a bit slow, okay? All right, next one, thank you. Business acumen. So this has to do with how you approach the business problem that you're trying to solve. So you're here in a software engineering course, so why am I talking about a business problem? Because in software engineering, you are building software to solve a problem for usually a business, okay? So it behooves you to understand that problem. And if you only understand that problem on a superficial level, then you're only going to produce a mediocre solution, okay? So what you need to do is you need to understand the problem at a deeper level. To give one example from my work at Optiva, or I should say another person's work at Optiva, we had some scripts that needed to be rewritten around about every 6 months because things change, right? And so every 6 months, some poor intern or graduate would dutifully have to rewrite these scripts. But then someone actually looked at the problem. They actually dove deep to understand what was going on and why we needed to rewrite these scripts every 6 months. And they worked out that they could actually write a program which would write the scripts for us every 6 months, right? So they wrote this program, and now every 6 months we just click a button and we get the scripts we need, right? So that's an example of, you know, a superficial understanding gets you a mediocre solution, a deeper understanding gets you a better solution. Okay, so use your time with your mentors and stakeholders wisely. So very often we see this with graduates and interns. They'll rock up to a stakeholder meeting, and there's a couple of interns here, I'm not picking on you in particular, and they rock up to a meeting. They really haven't done much preparation. They're relying on their mentor or their stakeholder to kind of do the work for them. Don't do that, right? Prepare for your meetings with your stakeholder and mentor. Know what questions you're going to ask them. Understand what you need to know so that you can extract the most value from your time with your stakeholder, because it's limited. You don't get infinite time with your stakeholder, okay? And then you can use that information to build that deep understanding and come up with a better than mediocre solution. And lastly, ask yourself, what do your stakeholders really need? And are you delivering? So one of the things we'll look for in your presentations when you come to Optiva is, who is the target audience for your product, right? And do you really understand what that target audience needs or wants from you? And does your solution actually deliver on that functionality, okay? Okay, next one. I think you may have missed it, but Professor Rabi earlier when he was speaking talked about making good technology choices. So this is one where we often see people go wrong, and even Optiva itself has made some poor decisions in the past. So the question we sometimes ask is, are you choosing the technology or is it choosing you? What do I mean by that? Well, often we like to say, I'm going to use the latest and greatest thing, the newest web framework, you know, C++ 2024, right? I don't care about plus 23, I want 24, right? So you need to ask yourself, are you making good technology choices? So the kinds of issues that you should be considering are, if you use the technology you're choosing, are you going to be able to deliver on time? And is the product you deliver actually going to be useful to its end user? Okay, it's all well and good to come out to us or to Professor Ravi at the end and say, well, look at this cool technology we used. But the more important question is, does your product actually work? So beware the latest thing. Is it really ready? C++ 24, probably not ready. And do your team members actually know the technology? Or have you got this sort of one person in your team who's the only one who can actually do a task? And if that person gets sick or hit by a bus, you're in trouble, right? Thanks. Okay, so I do have to mention we are hiring. So our intern and graduate roles are open for applications right now. You can go to our website and apply straight away. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. So if you would like to work as an intern for us over the next summer or as a graduate next year, by all means, please do look up those roles. We think we're a pretty good employer. We've won some awards there. Actually, those are last year's. I haven't got this year's up, but we won some more awards this year. So, and actually, we've got an intern here. He's going to tell you it's great, right? Excellent, thank you. And then the last thing I'll show is this. So if you haven't heard of Ready Tray to Go, Ready Tray to Go is a programming competition we're running. Applications are open now. The first prize is €30,000. So all you have to do is write a relatively short program in either Python or C++, and you could win yourself a pile of dough. So please have a look at that. But of course, when you do that, please do not let it prevent you from getting your work done for this course, okay? All right, that's it. So any questions for me? Or I'll hang around a little bit after if anyone wants to talk. Yes? Unfortunately, if you have been employed at Optiva or have signed a contract with Optiva, you cannot be in this competition. Sorry.
All right, we have to leave because I can hear the noise, but I think we should all thank Greg for his presentation.
Thank you.
Just introduce more students. He can talk to you outside. And just he's working on financial market data.
Thank you, everyone.
And then if there is some project or ideas, he'll be working on.